Since our dog Sparky died last month, his sister Susie has been following me around everywhere. When we had the two of them, it would usually be Sparky who followed me, and Susie was content to go and lie in her bed or on her cushion. But since he's been gone, Susie wants to be with me all the time. I haven't had a decent night's sleep in weeks, as she either starts howling or tapping on the door at any time between 2 and 4 in the morning, and of course I have to go down to reassure her. It's pointless trying to ignore her, as she just persists. Trinity was complaining the other day that even if she's in the middle of giving Susie some love, if I leave the room, Susie will get up and follow me. She's completely your dog, Trinity complained. She doesn't care about the rest of us. She only has eyes for you. I'm sure that's not entirely true. She does care about the rest of the family too, but she certainly is very attached to me at the moment. You might wonder what that's got to do with our Bible reading today from Matthew chapter 22, verses 15 to 22, and hopefully the connection might become clear eventually. So how does this passage fit in with what's been going on in Matthew's Gospel to this point, and how does it fit into the context of Jesus' ministry? Well, in the previous chapter, Jesus has entered Jerusalem to great acclaim, the event we now commemorate as Palm Sunday. And he's gone back to the temple the following day and spent some time in discussion with the chief priests and elders of the Jewish people. They start to try and trap him on the question of where his authority comes from, but he turns the question back on them and then tells them a series of parables, none of which reflect well on them. So you can imagine the anger of the religious authorities rising. Who does he think he is, after all? They're the ones who are the guardians of religious correctness, and as far as they're concerned, they're doing a good job. They don't need this troublemaker having a go at them and stirring up the crowd. In verse 15, where we started the reading today, we're told that the Pharisees went and plotted to entrap Jesus in what he said. We don't know how long the plotting took, or whether they'd already been plotting for a while, but the events described in the passage we're looking at today take place sometime in that relatively short period between Jesus' entry into Jerusalem on a donkey and his arrest. This passage is often badly used as the basis to tackle questions of the interaction between church and state. It's seen to give some kind of justification for the extent to which the church is or isn't involved in political activity. And it's oft quoted by politicians when the church is seen to be critical of the latest government schemes. But the passage doesn't really answer a lot of questions for us in this regard, particularly as we live in a democracy. In fact, it can be used to support opposing arguments, so we can't rely on this passage alone to draw attention to our obligations as Christians to be involved in political life. But there's more to the passage than that verse towards the end where Jesus tells them, "Give to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's." We start in verse 15 with the plot of the Pharisees. They try to catch Jesus out with their question, and I can imagine that they feel very pleased with themselves when they came up with that question. They obviously don't want Jesus to know that he's walking into a trap, so the Pharisees are careful not to be seen to be involved. They send their younger disciples along to Jesus, perhaps their star pupils, and a few Herodians too, first to flatter Jesus, and then, when his ego has been massaged a bit, to ambush him with their clever question, "Is it lawful to pay taxes to the emperor or not?" Now, I was always told to try and avoid closed questions as far as possible, give people room to explain their thoughts, feelings and opinions, and don't ask questions that can simply be answered with a yes or a no. But if you want to try and pin someone down, and you see this kind of thing in political interviews all the time, a simple yes or no question is perfect. This is bound to get Jesus into trouble, they probably think. If Jesus says yes, then most of the crowd will be disillusioned and lose interest in him, as there was a significant anti-Roman group who argued that paying the Roman poll tax was an act of treason. Some who were particularly passionate and radical would refuse to even touch any coins that had Caesar's image on. But if Jesus says no, on the other hand, then he may win the support of the crowd, but he also incriminates himself. No is a treasonous answer, and the Herodians are there simply for the purpose of hearing Jesus say such a thing so that they can press charges against him. Jesus does seem to avoid having to come down on either side of the yes-no question. He escapes the trap at any rate by throwing the question back to those who've asked it. The audience will have to do some work here. They will have to decide where the line is drawn between Caesar's jurisdiction and God's jurisdiction. And even those who ask the question are amazed at his brilliant response and go away and leave Jesus alone. If we leave it at that, we have just another clever story of Jesus outwitting his opponents and failing to fall into their traps. And I think we miss something important, something which hopefully fits in with the story about my dog with which I began. At another level, something much more profound is going on. When Jesus asks for a coin, he also asks, whose head is this and whose title? The Greek word used here is not the word for head. The Greek word is icon, which literally translates as image. But the Jewish crowd would have had a deeper understanding of image than we might realise. Of course, the coin shows Caesar's icon and technically belongs to Caesar. But the audience would understand that they, as human beings, bear the image of God. The early scripture in Genesis chapter 1 states that God created human beings in God's image. This is a fundamental concept and is essential to both Jewish and Christian self-identity. So Jesus is indirectly speaking rather subversive words. The people may have to pay the poll tax, but they certainly don't belong to the emperor. The people belong to God. They bear God's image. This declaration of ultimate belonging is powerful and radical. Another way of thinking about this is to say that Jesus is not making God and Caesar to be equals here. And neither is Jesus saying, well, there's one realm where Caesar is in charge and can demand what he wants, and another altogether disconnected realm where God is in charge. Jesus is not saying this at all. In fact, he's implying the opposite. Human beings bear God's image, and wherever we live and operate, whether that's in the social, economic, political, or religious realm, we still belong to God. We don't change our allegiance according to whether we're in church or at work or at the polling station. So if you're looking for answers about the obligations of Christians to the government, you're not going to get them from this passage. But Jesus does set our allegiances in order. He shows us about priorities. He doesn't say when to obey the government and when to challenge, but gives us a framework in which to consider these things. Jesus reminds us that not only we, but all God's children, all human beings, carry the divine image and therefore belong to God. We who know this to be our truth are therefore placed in a position of great responsibility. Where governments act as though citizens have no higher commitments than to the state, where the divine image in others is denied and some are made by political circumstances to be less than human, where those in authority live by different rules than those to whom they govern, we are called to challenge and assert that we are all equal in our belonging to God. In these situations, this text carries a radical and revolutionary word, a word that has to be spoken to both the oppressed and the oppressor, a word that has power to transform and unsettle. I know that my dog Susie belongs to me. I see it in her devotion to me, in the way she follows me and wants to please me, and in the way she depends on me so trustingly to provide all that she needs. So may we who belong to God, we who bear God's image, be bold in letting that image be seen through our devotion to Jesus, in the way we follow and serve, and in our dependence and trust in him. May all who have power over others come to know that God's image is woven into the fabric of every human being, that we are all precious and valuable to God, and ultimately answerable to God alone. Amen.